My name is Benjamin Rodriguez. I'm the founder and CEO of Business Club LLC. Thank you for tuning in. Here we have, once again, Steven Rivera, the owner of not just one business, not two, but three businesses. So you're like a Maverick, Steven.
I wouldn't call it that, but close enough.
Well, not only do I say that because you have one sector, then another sector, then another sector. So it's like you gotta have some deep inside knowledge to do that.
I think when you have kids, it gives you motivation. I have 4. I just had one last week, so baby girl again. So when you have kids, it kind of motivates you, and I think you gotta find what motivates you every day. For me, it's my kids, and I also created almost like a little side of my wall where I kind of put like all the stuff that my kids gave me throughout the years, cards, pictures, they draw something, and I put it there, and it's near my bed. So every time I get up, you have those days when you don't want to do anything because you're just not in the mood. You kind of look at that and it kind of motivates you. Right.
Yeah. And thank you for coming back.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we had last episode, we had you on, and
yes.
We spoke about New York finest car service and Limousine.
Yes.
All right. So thank you for coming back, and Isaac, thank you as well.
Thank you for having me again.
Absolutely. So we're looking forward to hearing more about now. What's the name of your other business?
So I have 3 other businesses. I have New York Finest Cleaning Service. Then I have a vending machine company called Father Son Vending, which me and my son are partners in. And then I have another business that's opening up soon called Canatopia. So it's going to be a dispensary.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I was wrong.
Yeah.
I said you had 3 businesses. Now you're going to have 4.
Yeah, I have 4. So I'm partners with the dispensary. I'm not the only owner. I'm a partner in it. Is in the works. We're in construction phase now. So, we should be opening up, God willing, Labor Day weekend.
Wow. So your hands are full.
Yeah, and I got 4 kids at home.
And a newborn, right?
And a newborn, yeah. She's 2. She'll be 2 weeks old tomorrow.
Right. So when I called you a Maverick, I wasn't wrong.
Yeah, well, you got it. Yeah, you could say that in an aspect.
Right.
In an aspect, yeah, I'm a Maverick.
There you go. Oh, so how do you go from having a business that is car related, right? And to having a cleaning service business.
All right, so that's another unique story. I think all my businesses have a unique story, but so I started the cleaning service in 2019. So I was dating a girl that liked to clean. She liked that aspect. So the plan was at that time to open up the business, and then eventually have her run it. So I get it off the ground, and then she runs it, and then she could kind of have something stable for her. So that's how I started. So how I started was the same clients that I had in the transportation service. I kind of promoted the cleaning service to them. So that's how I started the business, to see how it was going. And then that was 2019, and then 2020 was COVID.
Right.
We all know everybody was home, not doing anything. The transportation company took a huge hit. Nobody was going anywhere, but the cleaning service did very well, because we were steaming and sanitizing people's homes and stuff like that, and we ended up doing very well that year, and it helped us to kind of get more clientele and kind of take the business to the next level.
Well, so one business led to the other. In a way.
But what really started it was because the girl I was dating at the time, she wanted to do a cleaning service. And since I know how to start a business, that's how I started it. Then eventually me and her parted ways, and, I continued the the cleaning service business.
You can't part way with your business, right?
No. I make it clear I have 100% ownership of
Right.
what I own.
Right.
You know, except the vending machine business. Me and him are 50-50 in that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me ask Isaac about that. So Isaac, who approached who about this idea?
So for the vending, it started off, I think, on Valentine's Day, a random day. It was in the car, just like how we always are in the car.
Yeah.
And he was picking up a client named Marty, and he was on Facebook Marketplace, and there was just machines that were just, offered to be like bought. And he had asked me, like, would you want to get into the machines? Like, if I buy a location, you refill it, we can start something. And originally during pandemic, everyone had free time, right? Everybody was home. So on social media, a big thing was vending machines. That was a really, really big thing. And I remember watching a ton of videos on vending machines, how you restock them, how you refill, what was the money that was coming in, the income that you can make. And I always thought in the back of my mind, that was cool. Like, that was a great idea. And then when he brung it up and he was like, hey, we could actually get a location from Facebook Marketplace and we could get one, I was like, you know what? Yeah, let's do it. And it started off with our first location in the Bronx, and the rest is history.
Well, so how many locations are there now?
We have like 30 machines at the moment. So we probably have like 15 locations.
Wow.
Yeah, so we've been in business for a little under 2 years. So I think we're doing pretty well. First year we took a hit. We made a lot of mistakes. One thing about the vending machine business, everybody knows, when you buy in a location, just make sure you check what the location actually makes. There's a lot of scammers out there that tell you, hey, you're gonna make $100 a day here, and when you buy the location for 20 grand, you're really only making $10 a day. You know what I'm saying? So you kind of like take a little L. We took a couple losses in that. I think we probably lost like 60 grand that year, just in buying bad locations. But it's fine, right? It's a learning process. It's something that we never done before, and we had no idea. When we got scammed from one specific individual for those locations, which is fine. Like I said, we learned to pivot the next year, and by next year we were already we were making the second year we were making six figures. So you take the loss and you learn from it. You don't let it define who you are or what your business is.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because not only having the business background and the street smart background,
Right.
and you go into a new sector, right, into a new business venture,
Right.
that you kind of a new player in, right, and you're getting scammed because people are that good. Those scammers are that good. Right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I come from the streets, right? But the person that was scamming, he wasn't from the street, So, and he had this God thing, like always praising the Lord, and he got me. I won't sit here and lie, but like I said, like I always say, a loss is not a loss. It's just a lesson.
It's exactly what it is.
Some people have to learn that though.
Right.
'Cause some people take losses, a tad bit too serious.
Right.
You have to learn how to pivot to be able to get back up and do your thing.
And the reason why I mention that is because you haven't been already an experienced business owner. Right. You had two businesses already that were successfully running, and getting into a new business with your son.
Right.
And then having to have that happen to you guys, and it's like, well, if it can happen to the two of you, and
it happen to anybody.
It can happen to anyone.
And it does happen to people because I've talking to random people all the time, and I just spoke to somebody maybe a few months ago. That same guy scammed him for the same location he scammed me, for $18,000.
Jesus.
And he's a young kid, and I'm sure that's like he probably saved all that money, So for people, they have to be really careful, because if you don't have, like, I'm fortunate enough that I had other businesses, so I was able to pivot faster. For some people starting their first business and losing 18 grand, it could really finish them for a long time, and it'll take them a long time to pivot. So you got to be real careful when you get into the vending machine business.
So Isaac, what life lessons did you take from this experience?
I always took it as there's always going to be a pivotal point where things are going to change, and just like how you said earlier, we were learning everything straight from scratch, right? We made plenty of mistakes. I mean, in the beginning, we used to carry inventory with us everywhere. We used to have it in these huge Home Depot boxes, and it was like boxes and boxes, and we would just do that every time, location. And then now we have inventory on our phones. I could just track off an app to see what we need, but we used to carry each and every individual box and not even know if it needed to get refilled. But that was all lessons that made it 10 times better for us now today to appreciate, so that we know how far we came. And even with the whole scamming, it was a huge hit, and it is what it is. You got to take it on the chin and keep pushing. You can't stop that.
Right. That's the beauty about business, right? You're always learning.
Yes.
It's always teaching those lessons, right? It doesn't matter how smart you think you are, or like background you have or anything like that. You always have to be on the lookout.
Yes.
Right.
I always say, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. So it's to listen more and to speak less.
Right.
A lot of times the answer is right in front of you. Somebody's giving you that free game. But a lot of people, some people don't want to listen. Right. So I learned a lot from business in my transportation business by just being the driver and just listening. Not even speaking, listening to somebody that's far more in a better space than I am. And he's giving me that free game. And I'm just soaking it all in.
Right.
And people have to learn that. But that'll take you to the next level.
And this is exactly the type of topics and lessons we want our audience to learn. Because I know a lot of people might want to start new business ventures just like you guys did. Right. After already having successful businesses, or someone is just trying to break into the game and start their first business. So anything that we can share, and I appreciate the both of you being so transparent and just sharing your story with us, and it's going to teach us those lessons that the rest of us have to kind of like be on the lookout for.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we have to just learn that you have to do what you're passionate about. Like it's not all about money all the time. Because when you have passion for something, you ain't never gonna feel like you're working. So you can do whatever you're passionate about until whatever you feel that you don't want to do it anymore. You know what I mean? Most people like to seek careers because if I become a doctor, I'm gonna make $250,000. Do you really want to be a doctor? You know what I mean? Like, do you have that passion to be a doctor?
Right.
I'd rather do something that's money, but I'm passionate about it and I don't feel like I'm working. Right. But a lot of people, today are really focused on, making the money.
Chasing the money. And they're not chasing the dream. Right. They're just chasing the money. And it's not all about money all the time. Right. Obviously, we need money to live, right? Because absolutely,
with no money, we ain't living, especially not in America. But kind of put more focus on the dream, the goal, what you're passionate about, and the money will come automatically.
Yeah, I think that you're speaking from the heart when you say that, because you are an experienced business owner, right? And you want people to just know that it's about the passion, right? Like you said, if you feel that passion, you're not working, because every day you're going to wake up and you're enthused to go to work. You have that, passion and the grind. And if you don't have that, that's going to fade over time, because it's not your dream. It's someone else's, they're doctors, but you know what? You can also find other venues for you and what you like and what your passion is.
Yes. You should always just seek what you're passionate about, man. Like, and you're going to get people that's going to kind of steer you, in another direction. Like, oh, no, you can't do that. Or, I've had plenty of people tell me like, oh, you bought that car, you spending $1,500 on a car payment, nobody's gonna get in that car. You know what I mean? You're gonna hear all of that, but you have to just have the tunnel vision, right, and just block the audience, right, and just focus on, if you believe in yourself and you know what you're doing and you're passionate about what you're doing, that's all you need. You don't need nothing else. And surround yourself with people that are doing better than you,
right,
or as good as you. Right. Don't surround yourself with somebody that's not doing nothing with themselves, because they ain't got nothing to offer you. You got everything to offer them, but they ain't got nothing to offer you. So there's no sense of being around them all the time. Not to say you can't be friends with them friends with them anymore, but you have to learn how to kind of get into another space. Right. And a lot of people ain't gonna understand that. They're gonna think, oh no, he's not messing me with no more because now he's successful. Now he's the big shot or whatever they want to call it. But it's not that. It's just you trying to get into other rooms, and to get into other rooms you got to surround yourself with different space of people,
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that,
Right. And another thing I found is that people, when you share your vision, sometimes it's not even good to share your vision.
No.
Because I find that people are so quick to be critical.
Yes.
And point out all the negatives.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Oh, that can't be done, or this can't be done.
And but that's good. The critics is good because it molds you to block it out.
True too. Yes.
Because you gotta get that, because especially us, minorities, we're gonna get it a lot, because where we come from, it's just not existent. It's not existent as we would want it to be, right? And that's in everything in life, not only in business, relationships. It's just what it is, and it's all because of the mentality that they have, because of where they come from, how they grew up, how they were brought up. That's why I teach my kids to express themselves, be who you want to be, have your own lane. Don't follow in my footsteps if that's not what you want to do. You want to do this, go ahead, do that. I'm gonna support you. You in a relationship, and you want to be with an Asian girl, go ahead. Be happy. That's the main thing. Be happy and be at peace. Right. Forget about everything else. People are gonna have a comment whether you're doing good or you're doing bad. They still gonna talk. So just let them talk.
I mean, sometimes it's the mentality, how we take things, right? Because we could use it as motivation, like you said.
Right.
Use it as motivation. You could use the critic as a part of like, well, I'm definitely going to keep going, and I'm not going to give up. But then you get to that space where I think it's also good to work in silence. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Where it's like you're just grinding and let the results speak for itself.
Exactly. No, you should always, you should never let nobody know what your next move is. Keep that to yourself. Like, don't even tell your mom. And it's not nothing personal, but like, a lot of times you tell somebody your next move, they may not tell you nothing, but their mind is negative. And now that energy transfers to what you're trying to do. And then it'll create an obstacle for you.
Right.
I learned that the hard way. And I've had so many obstacles in my life. Like, I mean, you can ask him. You can ask my son. He to tell you. And I just keep going. Like when you have so many obstacles when you're trying to do things, I think you kind of like used to it already, right? So you're like, all right, it's an obstacle. I'll get through that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh yeah, that happened. Yeah, we'll take care of that. You know what I mean? But that's what comes with tunnel vision. Like, you don't let none of that kind of like, steer you in the wrong direction where you're like, nah, I should have never done this. Oh, I'm not gonna do this no more. Or this is not gonna work out. Nah, it's an obstacle. Let it be an obstacle. Deal with it, handle it, and keep going.
Yeah, I always hear like if it was easy, then everybody would do it.
Exactly. Right? And not everybody has the mentality or built to be a business owner. That's why we have owners and we have employees, because not everybody has the mentality for it. Some people is just overwhelming for them. Some people can't multitask, and that's okay, right? But for the people that can be a business owner, just focus on and focus on what's important and do what you're passionate about. That's all.
That's right.
And just know that being a business owner is you're always working.
I was going to ask you, that was going to be one of my questions. Now that you mentioned you have 4 kids,
right?
You have 3 successful businesses, and
right.
you're going for a 4th. Well,
right.
4th one you as a partner, you might be a little, you might have more time, but still, it's another responsibility added to your plate. So, how do you do it?
I think I learned with the car service business, since I was a one-man show, I would take phone calls, take reservations when I was driving, text customers when I was outside. I remember snowstorms. The Irish love to drink in the snow because they don't got to go to work, right? So the bars used to be bombarded with people. And I was probably the only crazy taxi driver driving a Chrysler 300, rear-wheel drive, by the way, in a snowstorm, right? And I would have this notebook with the names of the people I was picking up and how they called me, in order, and the address and coming up. And I'd be like, I'm going to get there. Just, give me an hour. They'd be like, Steve, no bother. I'm just here drinking. Just come when you're outside. You know what I mean? And I would just drive, in that little area, which is, Woodlawn area of the Bronx, which is a huge Irish neighborhood, and just pick people up and drop people off in this little car. And, and I would, do my thing the whole night and driving in a snowstorm, and I'll be the only cab driver out there driving because all the other cab drivers be like, nah, I'm not doing this. And I'll be the brave one. But again, those were my humble beginnings. And I needed to do that to gravitate the clientele,
exactly.
To be able to be where I'm at today.
Right.
And I think by doing that, by doing multitasking throughout those years, it's almost like I'm so used to it now. So I could be holding my daughter and taking a reservation at the same time and not be overwhelmed with it. I could be in the pool. I was in the pool yesterday, in my backyard, and I was on a conference call for the dispensary in the pool, playing with my daughter. You know what I mean? So I think you get used to it, and I don't get overwhelmed by it, So for me, it's just it's almost like normality now.
But I think you said something very important, and that is that in your humble beginnings, when there was a snowstorm, you were out there.
Yes.
So this is your reward.
Yes.
Being in the pool with your kids.
Yes.
Being on a conference call is the reward for what you did years back.
Yes. 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 And I'm super grateful, and I think that I'm still humbled. I'm still a humble person. I don't change that no matter how much success I have in life. I still remain humble because I think that's just so important. Just because you're successful and the other person's not doesn't mean that you have to treat he or she a different way or not even talk to them. I'm just not. I wasn't raised like that. I think my mother would whip me upside my head if I was like that. You know what I mean?
So let me bring Isaac back into the conversation in terms of seeing your dad's work ethics. How does that influence you?
Just seeing his work ethic and him continuing to always push himself and just in general always strive for more. It always made me push myself in anything, even when I was younger and I was dealing with school, and I would watch him and then think back to the times where he would be up till late. I remember he would for the first day of school, from middle school to I believe elementary school, when I was living in Queens, he would come off of JFK and then right off the highway come to my mom's house, and he'd be asleep in the car before he picked me up, and he'd be knocked out just from staying up overnight that entire night just so he could drop me off to school. And it's moments like that I really learned what real work ethic is, what pushing yourself to your limits and doing what's necessary is. So seeing all that always made me want to strive for more.
All right. So let's go back to now the cleaning service.
Right.
New York Finance.
New York Finance Cleaning Service.
Cleaning service.
Yep.
So tell us a bit like how is it set up? What is your clientele, and where are you guys today?
So we do a lot of we do a lot of management companies. We do some private homes as well, houses and stuff like that. Office space, those type of things. But we really focus on management companies. It's a steady volume. The units are empty, so the girls like that. They feel more comfortable. It's good. As long as you continue to provide a good service, people are gonna like it, and people are gonna keep calling you. I try to make sure my employees are always happy. I think that's kind of like the main aspect, of business, is make sure your employees are happy. Don't treat them like they just a body, like a lot of corporations do. I think it's important to kind of treat your employees like family. Obviously you're gonna have, some that are not gonna appreciate that, what you're offering them, and that's okay, right? Because you're not doing it for them, you're kind of doing it for yourself, right? So being in that space, with the cleaning, you just have to have a structure, and stick to that structure. Like for us, I'll have the cleaner take before pictures, after pictures, stuff like that, and make sure they have the products that they need. And there may be certain things that they like that I don't have, let's just say. And I always tell them, if you see something that you like, that works for you when you're cleaning, just tell me and I'll just get it. So that way it makes their life just a tad bit easier. Because, we all know cleaning cleaning is not easy. And it is time consuming.
Of course.
So I try to make it as comfortable for them as possible.
That's great. From what I hear, you're speaking about how you treat people, right? Your employees.
Right.
You always speak about how it's important to treat them well, and
Right.
and that speaks volume. Like you mentioned throughout the podcast, that you have maintained that humility and being humble.
Right.
And I think that's what's keeping you grounded and treating people how you would like to be treated.
Right. I mean, you have to. I always say, like, you want respect, you got to give it, right? You can't go into a room and be disrespectful and expect people to, respect you. Life don't work that way, Obviously, certain people don't understand that. Sometimes people, with the pressure that New York City gives you, it kind of makes you forget about those things. And we all human, right? We all make mistakes. But how long we learn from them, and we learn how to apologize when we kind of get a little bit out of hand with ourselves. Learn to accept that you messed up, and just apologize. Ain't nothing wrong with that. We all human at the end of the day.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. So where do you see this business now, like 5-10 years from now?
Cleaning service, it's a business that'll be here forever, because we all need cleaning, right?
Absolutely.
So I think as we continue to grow, and it's something I think that my kids could run. It's easier. Transportation service is a little difficult. You gotta know. There's a lot of things you have to know about transportation, right? Cleaning it's not that hard. As long as you have the right products, and you continue the same structure that I have, they can kind of run it if they want to. Again, I don't force that upon none of my kids, to run something that they initially don't want to be a part of.
Right.
So my son does, some of the work as far as the back end stuff, for the cleaning and stuff like that. So, it's good for him, so he can learn, the back end stuff.
Right.
So, it's in case I want to venture out to something else, I know that it's in good hands. And, he can always reach out to me. I'm just a phone call away if he has a question or whatever, or don't know what's the next move going to be, or needs advice on the next move or whatever. I'll always be there for my kids as far as that,
Oh, so that's great. So that's another business that you're involved as well now, Isaac. So how did that come about? The dad was like, well, I kind of need your help here. Like, I have too many businesses going on right now.
It was in the basement to the old apartment that he had, was the storage unit, or the inventory rather. So originally he would have all his inventory there, and it started off by just being like, like, hey, could you like, rack up the bleach here, the yada yada yada. And then from there we started getting into inventory, managing the inventory, and then eventually I, transferred over to learning about the back end, like invoices, how the pricing works, and then from there it kind of just branched out to a whole nother segment.
Oh, wow.
It was cool.
So you're getting, again, free education on how to run another type of business you wasn't even involved in.
Right.
And it just happened to be like that, just needed you to complete one task, and then that led to other things.
A whole bunch of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, it was a domino effect.
Yeah, that's why I said it's important to like spoon. You want your kids to learn the business that you're in. Spoon feed it to them. Don't just drop the whole bomb on them, and it may be too much for them. I mean, if it took you 10 years to learn all of that, how you gonna drop all that on one take to somebody? So just spoon feed it to them and see what their reaction is.
Yeah, I think that's great, because I feel like when parents push things on their kids, it's kind of like the natural reaction is for the kid to be like, I'm not interested in that,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
they completely go in the opposite direction, right? But I think that you did that masterly.
Yeah, I mean, you have to know how to navigate it. I have clients that, they own delis and stuff, and you see their kids at like 10 years old, racking up the stuff in the fridges and stuff like that, and they look miserable. Like I don't want to be here, man. I want to go to the park or something. So, just watching that, I'm very observant. So watching that, I'm like, I don't want that for my kids, right? So then, as Isaac got older, I just started spoon feeding him little by little the stuff, and sometimes he picks people up he picks people up as well. If I have somebody that needs to get a pickup, and he'll do that for me. And again, I'm spoon feeding him that. I'm not like, hey, I need you to be with a client for 6 hours. That's your first client that you're gonna do. I'm not gonna do that either, right? You gotta spoon feed it and see where it goes, and then see if it's something that he can handle.
Exactly. Yeah. So I see this, that you always kind of gravitate to businesses that are a need, right?
Right.
In terms
Right.
of,
Right.
car service. A lot of people they need transportation. We need transportation all the time. And then the cleaning service as well is another service that is always needed.
Right.
So kind of like secure ventures, risky, but kind of like secure ventures that you kind of see as success rate.
Yeah, everything is a risk, right? Everything has its risks, businesses, relationships, everyday life. There's a risk involved. I think if you want to take the risk, just take it. If you believe in yourself, just go for it, man. Just go full throttle. Don't pump the brake. Just go. And when the results show, all those people that didn't believe in you, they won't have nothing to say.
Right.
I have plenty of those that didn't believe on what I was trying to do. When I got the first car, I was still living at my mom's house. They was like, "How you buying a car but you ain't getting your own apartment?" But they didn't see the vision.
But you did.
Exactly. So
All right. So, and lastly, so how do you guys see this business like just evolving as time goes? The cleaning service.
I think as we continue to deal with management companies, we will grow. We will continue growing, and I honestly think the cleaning service will outgrow the transportation.
That's big.
Just because transportation, as I've seen, is very saturated at the moment, and there's everybody after COVID. Everybody wanted to become their own boss. They wanted freedom, and it's expected, right? So I think the cleaning service will eventually get to the point that it will outsee the transportation service, and that's fine. As far as the transportation service, I'm very well where I'm at. If it stays at where it is, I'm happy. And the cleaning service, I know that it's a business that I can surpass the transportation. So, and it's easier to manage. You know, I'm not 23 anymore. You know, I'm 39. So, you know, for me to have something that I can control a lot easier, I'd rather have that.